This episode of Special Cowboy Moments provides a glimpse of the rich history that surrounds our Western roots. TC Energy understands the importance of capturing and sharing this culture for generations to come, and we would like to welcome you to this episode.
This is a mining area. It was a backwater place for a long time. There really wasn't anything here. Most of the stuff was down in the valley, which is Phoenix and Scottsdale. And about 1970, when I first came out here, is when it started to be discovered. And of course now it's very gentrified. One of the things you have to know about this area is what I call the last man in theory. Everybody who has discovered this great little gem wants, oh, I'm here now, I don't want anybody else to come. Well, now the Apaches felt that way, and I certainly felt that way, but I got my own comeuppance when I got bees in my studio. I have an art studio, and the bees had gotten in through the vigas. The vigas had stretched in a little hole there, and so they had a beehive right above my computer, and so I'd be working, and the bees would be coming down, and so I called up somebody and said, how do I get rid of the bees? And he said, you got to call Bill, the hippie beekeeper. So I go down, I call him the creek, he's down the creek from me, and I said, hey, you got to come up and help me with the bees. And so he comes up, and he's this old hippie guy. He's got the long hair and everything. He's got the plumber's crack, you know, with the low pants. And so he gets up on a chair there, and he's got a fogger, and he's going to go up there and fog them because it makes the bees drunk, and then you can take them out. So he's standing on a chair, and I'm trying not to look at his crack. You know, I'm sitting there like this, and he says, when he's up in my duct there, he goes, you know, Bob, we hated the people who built this house. And I said, well, Bill, I built this house. He said, I know. Because you're the last man in. You're here, you don't want anybody else to come. And I love the place, because it was an outlaw town. And of course, the history of the town goes all the way back in the 1870s. And this was on the route between Fort McDowell, which is down on the river down here, about 20 miles, and to Prescott. And so there was an old stage that would go through here. There was a fight in the cave that Cave Creek's named for. Al Sieber, chief of scouts for the U.S. Army, fought it out with the Apaches there on Christmas Day in 1874. And my house looks into that cave. And so when I built my pool, I left steps in the pool so that the spirits could go in the pool and go out the other side. Now I just gave myself away, I'm a hippie.
My youth was filled with things like driving through Circle K's when they're not drive-throughs, stealing canoes at Encano Park and going out and causing trouble. So at a very young age, 17 years of age, I determined that I could not fight them any longer. I was going to join law enforcement. So I set about going after a career. And the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office at that time was the only agency in the state that would hire you when you were 18 years old, when you couldn't even legally carry a pistol, but they would hire you because you would work in the jails until you turned 21, then you'd go through the regional academy. And so that's exactly what I did. I actually had a sheriff, a very well-known sheriff in this community, Jerry Hill. He actually died a week and a half ago, but he took me under his wing, knew I was sleeping in my truck at Falcon Park, and put me to work as a detention officer when I was 17 and a half years old. I did that, worked in the jails for 3 years. Got to tell you, that's a learning curve, because everyone in there has been through the system numerous times, and they've done something. So you can go weeks out in the field and never run into a real, what we call, bad guy. In the jails, you got to talk to them all day long. In 1975, I determined that I just loved the Old West. I really wanted to go around and compete in chuck wagon competitions and do things like that. I started traveling, still working at the sheriff's office, was very fortunate, promoted, actually retired as the deputy chief of the department in 1998. Was retired a whole 9 days and determined I needed a hobby. And I thought it'd be the type of hobby, I think I mentioned this earlier, where I'd just come in once a week, pick up a bag of money, go to the bank. You know, I thought that was going to be a great retirement for me. I still had 2 kids in college and another one that was in high school. And you know what, it hasn't worked out that way. We've got 121 employees. It's 7 acres total of operations, you know, $8 or $9 million a year budget. It's not a good retirement job for one guy. But I knew I wanted to do something in Cave Creek. Max McGee, a very famous football player for the Green Bay Packers, tight end, first 2 touchdowns, first Super Bowl. Max McGee was that player. His daughter and he owned the Buffalo Chip Saloon, which was a little 800 square foot operation at the time. And I had the dream to buy the Buffalo Chip Saloon. I took my retirement and did that. Bought the Buffalo Chip Saloon, and it's grown to what it is now over the past 20 years.
At Rope and Dreams, we're celebrating our 15-year anniversary. Since that date, we've reached over 740 children and their families in 16 different states. We try to create an opportunity for a child and a family that give them an experience unlike any other. But whatever the dream is, we know that our main dedication is this: bring a day of smiles to the child who faces daily challenges. There's a lot of dreams out there, and there's a lot of children that need us. Rope and Dreams.
It's like love for the first time. Feel it in your veins, breathe it in your lungs, so stay. It's like love for the first time. It'll all make sense. You know it.
This life, full of moments, big moments, small moments, in between moments. It's about missing out on nothing and celebrating everything. It's how we at First International Bank and Trust live first and have been for over 100 years. One customer, one family, one moment at a time. First International Bank and Trust. Live first.
Big Boy Toys.
Edge Casino Resort, we don't just say Minnesota nice, we live it. Come discover for yourself. Classic coin games, hot new video slots, and the lowest table limits. Enjoy our seafood buffet, prime rib, and everything in between. Stop in for the day or stay the night. We're big enough to have everything you want, but small enough to know your name. We are Prairie's Edge Casino Resort, Minnesota's friendliest casino.
You know, in law enforcement, you say, was that a step of faith? Was there a risk? Oh, without a doubt. In law enforcement, there's two answers to every question. Yes, sir, no, sir. If you say yes, sir, and do your job, you retire after 20 years with all your benefits and pay for the rest of your life. If you don't, you go to Gila Bend and patrol until you quit out of loneliness. So, yeah, it's a real black and white career in law enforcement. Owning a eating and drinking establishment that has 10,000 people a week come through it, 121 employees, it's not very black and white at all. There's a lot of gray in here.
How I got started is actually a funny story if you want to hear it. I had just moved here from a small town, and I had a dental assisting resume and a bartender resume. And I pull up to the Buffalo Chip and I see Larry, who had just had a back surgery, get out of his vehicle. And he was kind of struggling, and I walk over and I'm like, oh, let me help you in. And I gave him my arm and walked him in. He asked me what I was doing here and told him I was just moved to town and looking for a job, and he hired me on the spot, and I've been here ever since.
So we had come up to Pinnacle Peak to go hiking, and the wind was blowing so hard, and we decided we'd stop in Cave Creek. And my son said to me, Mom, I'm taking you to Cave Creek, and that was quite foreign to me. So we came, and inside the Buffalo Chip was where we had Christmas dinner. There were probably 7,500, 150 people there. We walk in, order our dinner, and all of a sudden we had all of these friends. And it was the most warm reception. And growing up like I did, I loved the boots on the wall and the hats and the country music playing. And I was just taken with Cave Creek at that time.
I worked at Pinnacle Peak Patio for 36 years. Started when I was 16 years old. And they sold the land, the family there, so they were closing up the business, selling land. Well, the owner here came up, gave us all his card and said, hey, I want a package deal. He's looking for staff. Said, I know you have obligations when you're done here. Come on down and see me. So when we finally turned everything over to the new owners over there, I came down and talked to him, and he hired 4 of us. He hired our maintenance guy, was there 20 years. Our head cook was there 54. The other manager was there 32, and I was there 36. And he hired all 4 of us here because I told him, I said, I'm looking for a new home. I'm not looking to job jump. And I found a new home.
Two years ago, I come in, it's Thanksgiving Day. We had 400 reservations for the Green Bay Packer game. It's a huge Green Bay Packer bar because we bought it from Max McGee. We had Thanksgiving reservations. It was a crazy busy night. There was a woman inside that night before, which is also a crazy night, a 2,000 or 3,000 customer night here, and she's smoking in the bar. In Arizona, it's illegal to smoke in a food or beverage establishment. So one of our managers had said, hey, you'll have to put that out. You can't smoke inside. She was belligerent. Believe it or not, sometimes people that drink do get belligerent. And so she said, you know what, I'm not putting my cigarette out. Well, she ended up flicking her cigarette on a customer. So of course she had to go. She made a threat on the way out and said, you know what, I'm gonna burn that such and such place down. In this business, again, man, once a month, I'm not paying that, I didn't get served, whatever it is, and the alcohol contributes to it, but we did not take that threat seriously. Lo and behold, when I pull up in the morning, it was at 6 in the morning, I saw smoke coming from the building, and I thought, you know what, the turkeys that we've got in the oven caught fire or something, but so I opened the front door, and immediately the whole place is filled with smoke. I can't get in, so we called 911. Well, as it turns out, she was serious. She sat in her vehicle, waited for our cleaning crew to return in the morning at 4:30, followed them in, went over to the Circle K, bought some matches and cigarettes, put a lit cigarette on each of the toilet paper rolls in the women's restroom. The place was built in 1951. It was a tinderbox, no sprinkler, no cameras, no nothing. It went up. So there was a line of people all the way around this place. They had barricaded it immediately. They found out it was an arson fire. My first inclination was, you know what, someone burned your place down. They don't want you in Cave Creek. It's time to really retire, Larry. But because of that outpouring from the public, from the town officials, from our customers, from our staff, we had 120 staff to keep working through the holidays, I determined that I was going to rebuild. So yes, we bought an old antique sawmill out of Mount Shasta, California. It had opened in the 1850s, closed in the 1960s, and we bought every piece of lumber, every piece of tin, the saw blades, the telegraph poles, the light, everything you see here, we bought because we had to duplicate that 1951 look and feel of that old building, but meet the new code. So that's how this got here.
This sawmill, this building is just phenomenal to me, and his ideas, his vision of what he wanted was exciting to me. And the day that the building itself came in on the semis, I was out in the parking lot and I saw the semis coming up in the road, and it just literally gave me chills because I knew what was coming.
Charbonneau Car Center provides a low-pressure sales experience with great customer service and a variety of models to choose from. We can put you in the vehicle that fits your lifestyle. No gimmicks, no games. Charbonneau Car Center, great service, great savings. Buick. Experience the new Buick.
This winter, your memories begin with a loan from Western Cooperative Credit Union. Whether it's ice fishing, snowmobiling, a vacation to the mountains, or just plowing your way through the snow, you can finance your fun with a loan from Western Cooperative Credit Union. Our low rates and flexible terms mean more options and less hassles for you. No matter the weather, there are no limits to your adventures. Federally insured, NCUA.
We belong to you.
The Buffalo Chip is an amazing place to have a good time. Whether you are a family, whether you're a young adult, whether you're older, all walks of life. You ride a Harley, you ride a horse, you don't ride anything, you can come here and have a good time. There is such a mix of people, and it's just outside of Phoenix, but it's not too far of a drive, and you come here and you feel like you're in another world. Like you feel like you're at a rodeo.
You have to walk over to the Chip, and on football days, you know, these are the Packers, that's the Steelers. These are the places, and Larry Wendt has always opened a hand to hurting people, to keeping good people in his place. Marv has been a chef and even in Waylon's days, he still comes in and he did all the steaks at Pinnacle Peak Patio, which was famous for the first mesquite grilled meats, you know. So I've come here for the bull riding, for the music, for the dance, for the food. Yes.
I had ridden bulls, I enjoyed it. I knew a lot of people in the bull riding industry, and that is what made us determine that the days of just throwing open your doors and having people flock in to buy, at that time, $1.50 bottle of beer, people wanted more. They wanted good food, they wanted entertainment, they wanted, you know, they could sit at home if they wanted to just buy cheap beer. So we started entertainment. We spent about $9,000 a week on it, including 2 live bull riding shows. No, I don't ride anymore. It is a blast. You know that you talked about adrenaline running. Sometimes it runs down your leg and you just don't, you wonder what that feeling is, but you can't replace it. And so yes, I love bull riding, but I don't do it anymore. All the Mercer Rodeo and Company do it all.
The Buffalo Chip basically markets itself. We are internationally known, and it's easy for me to market because I believe in the place and I love this place, so it's easy for me to talk about it. On a Friday night 2 weeks ago, the people that I encountered, we had 13 different countries that I was speaking with, and it's just easy for me to market, to talk about the place, and to sell the place.
Cave Creek is just a good old close-knit family of Western people. It's really a fun place. And the Buffalo Chip is a place that they can come and enjoy the Western atmosphere, watch the bull riding, the mutton busting, have a good old barbecue, enjoy themselves. We have both indoor and outdoor seating. It's really pleasant weather to come and sit outdoors, and I love it when we get the tourists in during the winter and they go, yeah man, I came from back east and it's, you know, below zero, and here I am sitting here at the Buffalo Chip having a barbecue at the picnic table and a beer out back. And you know, it's just the climate, the atmosphere, it's just a wonderful place. And the Buffalo Chip always has something going on for the customers. We have live music and as I say, the bull riding and the mutton busting, and we have Cowboy church. And I mean, how many places can you go to that's a bar and you have a church every Sunday morning out back? And it's just, it's really nice. And you know, as I think I said to you earlier, I actually live in Flagstaff, and we enjoy it so much that we commute, you know, on the weekends, and I love working here at the Buffalo Chip and helping out, and the satisfaction I get from doing it, it's worth, you know, commuting and helping out.
We have a mechanical horse on the front porch that takes quarters, and we hardwired it, so it's free to ride. All you have to do is flip a switch. And I had a young lady with a little girl that was inside, and she was whining and crying, so she took her outside, and I took him over to the horse, and I said, here, you can let her ride this horse, you know, and she goes, I don't think she'll get on it. So I turned it on, I was letting the horse go, I just started petting the horse, and the little girl started talking to it, and so I just left the mom and the little girl there. A little while later, the mom came back and goes, you created a monster. And I'm like, actually, you created her, I just showed her how to have fun.
Oh man, I don't know. I've been here, I've been living here now 18 years. I've come back from Nashville, although I traveled to Nashville, keep business in Nashville, but you know, been here a long time. Waylon wanted to come back here because this is where he romanced his music. So, you know, it's easy, it's an easy fix to come and honky-tonk a little, you know?
I've been a cowboy most of my life. I punched a lot of cattle, got in a few fights, and I've been around a time or two. I've made a little money, I spent a little too. I've been